Hi everybody, welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Lene Gehrig, and today I've got this fantastic new paper pack from our friends at Stamperia. This one's called Mechanical Sea World, and it's wonderful 12 by 12 papers that have that steampunk look, but with an undersea vibe. So let's take a look what's in this, and Debbie and I made some fun projects. I can't wait to show you. So it's got wonderful like ships building schematics, and it's got this fantastic woman with this hair that's got gears and coral and sea creatures, and it's just really a fantastical kind of collection. I love this like octopus with the deep sea diver helmet on it. It's got this sort of diamond plate grid for metal. Everything's kind of metal and rusted, and sea creatures, if sea creatures were steampunk. And if you're not familiar with steampunk, it's sort of it's a genre that's about fantasy and about sort of a Victorian age. If the Victorian age had fantastic gears and, how shall I explain that? Fantastic gears and inventions that really didn't exist at the time. So it's sort of a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea sort of situation. And I just think it's amazing and so fun to work with. Here we go. All right, so now we've seen what's in there. Let's get right to the fun and see what Debbie and I did with this. So here is an amazing scrapbook page that Debbie did. The detail in this is just amazing. So here she's got her photo, and she did some tearing on the edge of the photo. And of course, we always recommend that you don't use an original photo. If I can get a copy that's specifically for this page, it's really a piece of art here. And then she also used a cutting die. This is from the Timeless Panels die set from Paper Discovery. And it's got a couple of really great dies in it that, and you dig them, I have them at the bottom of my pile. They're really perfect for this collection. So let me show you what these look like. This is one, and then here is one with the gears, and this is what it looks like. It makes this wonderful gear panel, and Debbie used this right here at the top and the bottom of the page, and I'll be showing you how she added color to that, and I'll use it on another project, so you can check that out. I'll move that out of the way. She also cut out some of the different elements, like the deep sea diver and the starfish, but then other elements on the page are just already printed there. So this really cool fish, mechanical fish. She added some elements here and here, along with some really great sparklets, and this one coincidentally is sea level. And she also used the pixie petal flowers right here, just a little touch to bring that sort of coral color out, and this one is called salmon color. And she added along the edges of some of her cutouts, this is a embossing powder called Mixed Media Bronze Age, and she of course used a clear embossing ink pad or clear ink pad to add some liquid onto that so that the embossing powder would stick to that, heated it with her heat gun, and it just really gave some more dimension. She even tied some natural twine around each piece there. Just fantastic. I love this page. So I made a card here. It's got some similar elements on this. I used, for my little flowers, I die cut those out of just corners of pages that just had some texture on them. And this one is Flower Frenzy cutting dies, new from hot off the press. And excuse me, with these flowers, let me show you these cutting dies here. Here we go. The leaves are right here, and I cut those out of a blue color, and then I put some sort of rust paper behind them and backed them, and then I cut two using this die out of a rust paper, and then two out of this larger flower. So here you go. These are the pieces that I used. Sort of tried to keep them in two different color combinations. Here we go. And what I did to shape them, I just took my flower shaping tool, excuse me, flower taping tool from Crafter's Companion. And I just put each one on here, and I just put that on the center, used a smaller ball tool, and I just sort of stirred the center there. Each one. You see how it's just cupping that flower? Just a really, really easy technique. Go. And then I'm going to add a little dot of glue using my Cosmic Shimmer Specialist Acrylic Glue. I was just talking to Steve, who's filming with me today, about how I cannot do without this glue. There we go. And then I just added a couple of little, there we go, clear or rhinestone. Well, for this one, I just put a little half pearl, and then I put a cluster of rhinestones there for this, and then just added a few sequins around that, and just made a little grouping of flowers at the top. Now, I also want to add just something a little different to this. I'm going to use the stencil that Debbie used on her page, and this is called the Forest stencil. It's got a crackle finish on it, but it's also by Stamperia, and it goes with a collection of theirs that was more of like a forest collection, but we grabbed it because we thought it looked great here on with this collection. So it's got the crackle right here and right here, and she used 2 colors of Deco Foil Metallics gel. This one is aged copper, and she also used pure gold. I'm just going to use the aged copper on the corner of my card, and normally I wouldn't put this on a card that has foam taped greeting, which, by the way, I just cut this from one of the elements in the paper, on the paper pack, so and then just added that with foam tape. Ordinarily I would just cover the card and then do my stenciling, but I wanted to show it finished for you, so I'm going to do this a little bit backwards. I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to put it right here, sort of across the corner there, and then copper. And I'm also going to use this little tool. This is called a Stencil Pal. It's just a great scraping tool. You can get that at paperwishes.com, which is just really great if you love to do a lot of stenciling. This is just a little palette knife that I had. I'm going to put that right on there. And I'm going to use my tool to just scrape this right across the surface of the card. Now, here's the trick to making this look a little random. I don't want to get over this edge right here because then it'll seep off that edge. So, but I do want those crackle elements. So I'm getting really close to the edge. I'm also going off the edge of my card. Okay. So I'm just basically making a triangle at the bottom edge of my card. You can use repositional spray on your stencil. I would if it was a larger area, but this is such a small area, I feel like I can do okay. There we go. And see, it just adds, scrape off the excess for the corner, just add some cool texture. And when that dries, it'll be much more vibrant copper color. Okay, so adding that on there just gives it some texture, some more interest, but it's not covering up that really cool steampunk pattern on there. We've just got different elements of texture just by doing one more little thing. I'm going to put this aside so it can dry. I'm going to clean up my mat here before we get too much farther. Otherwise I'll forget and it'll dry on there. All right, there we go. All right, so for the next project, I'm going to do a composition book as a little notebook using this collection. So the first thing I'm going to start with, it's got this particular paper pad has these wonderful papers that have these fantastical kind of elements to them. I could just cut this paper down and this fantastic woman could be the center of my composition book, and I wouldn't have to really do much else. But then if I did that, I wouldn't have any fun techniques to show you, and I'd be out of a job. So we're going to not do the simplest thing. We're going to do something else that is simple and yet fun to do. All right, so I chose one that had really a more neutral background to it, okay? It didn't have a lot of art on it, and I really loved this torn edge right here. So we're going to use some glue. We're going to, oh, I think my nozzle dried up a little bit. I just like to use a paper clip to unclog that. And I'm getting some glue pretty heavily along, just along that black edge where the binding is. Also along the edges of this composition book, because when you think about it, oh, I'm clogged again. There we go. If you think about it, the place that it gets handled the most is along the edges. So that's where it's really going to need the glue. And then the rest of it, the center part, not so much. Okay, so I'm just going to put this right here, even aligning the top edge. And if I'm aligning it with the top edge right here, now I only have to cut the side and the bottom. Okay, so I'm taking advantage of this great border here. I'll grab my scissors. Now I'm going to, whenever I like to cut something even with the edge, I like to turn it over so I'm not cutting blind. I don't like to cut like this because that gives me a raw, jagged edge. So I like to turn it over and cut even with whatever it is. And I do this with covering cards as well. I'm just cutting along that bottom edge, and it just goes so much better and so much faster. There we go. So that's all covered. And then I'm going to do the back too before we get everything on there and it's all wet. Usually I get ahead of myself and I forget to do that. I just jump into playing with everything on the front and I forget to cover the back, which is fine. It's just that I have to wait till everything dries. Okay. Now I chose this one for the back, which I think is just phenomenal. And it's just got all these pipes and gears and steam. I don't know, what are they called? Like measuring tools for steam. I'm not very mechanical. Steam gauges, that's what they are, steam gauges. Okay. All right, so we've got our front and we've got our back. All right, so now from this paper pad, I'm just going to reference what page I used here. You go inside here, there is a bunch of cutouts. Here we go. And I chose this one right here. Cut out this little lady right here. And I'm also going to use, I cut this panel from just tan cardstock and colored it, and then I'm backing it with black cardstock. So let's get that colored. Just remembered that my craft sheet is all yucky, so we're just going to use this back of this paper. All right, so we're going to use two colors of Harmony water reactive ink, and this one is Lagoon and this one is Seal Brown, and we're also going to use two blender brushes, which are also wonderful tools to have. So I'm taking the Seal Brown, I'm just doing some brown color And I'm not blotting this one here because I don't mind if this gets blotchy because of the next steps that I'm going to do with it. Okay, I'm getting that brown color. It's kind of a black brown color, seal brown is. There we go. And now I'm going to get the lagoon color. I'm going to use a fresh blending brush. And we're adding some of that color in. As you can see, this makes kind of a cool background too. All right. So just adding some color randomly to that. Oh, I have to clean those brushes right after. All right. So now what you can do now is just add a little bit. I'm going to use some of my water here. We're just going to add a little bit of water to this because it's water reactive, and I should have done this before I matted it, but that's okay. We're just splattering a little bit of water on here to give it a little bit of some water staining on that ink. Here we go, we'll just do it like that. Clean up my water now. Boy, I'm really missing my craft mat. I should have cleaned that. Okay, so now we have this done. This is going to get glued right here like this. Glue on the back of this. I'm going to go ahead and overlap that spine. We're going to move this over there. All right, and then I've also got a tag that cut out from the paper pad. Well, on the one side, it's got these cool images of the deep sea diving helmet, and the other side, it's got script and watermarks on it. All right. And then I wanted to add some words to my notebook. So this is the typewriter keys you can get just by the sheet at Paper Wishes, and you just cut out each one, and it's kind of got a steampunk vibe to that as well. So I've gone ahead and cut these out and put a little bit of foam tape on the back of them. We're just going to stick those. And I like to kind of put my things a little haphazard because that way they look intentionally haphazard and I don't have to worry about aligning them perfectly. So I like to kind of go up and down with them like that. All right, now here's another element that I cut out from one of the sheets in the paper pad. It's just the ampersand and I'm going to put that right here. So my is going to say notes and such. I want to get these aligned okay. There you go. And I added a little twine right here, just a little knotted piece of twine. And then on this last tag, which is also a cutout, I added some twine here and then another one of the little pixie petals in a salmon color. Put a little foam tape on that. We're going to add that right there. Oh. All right, so now I want to go around the edges with just, this is the seal brown. And I want to really get that surface in there so you can see I'm kind of actually going onto the surface. And this is something that I always like to add this at the end, even though it's a little more practical to do it right when you're covering with paper. But I really never know how heavy I want to do something until I get to the end. So it's sort of my finishing touch. Go on the back as well. Go. All right, so there you go. There you have it. It's really easy to put together. Oh, I forgot, you guys. I forgot to add an element. We have this new kit, and it's called Gilding Flakes Kit. So glad I didn't forget. And this is copper. So I wanted to use this. I haven't even opened this, as you can see. Here we go. We used to carry gilding flakes at Paper Wishes several years ago, and this is so new I haven't even opened it, and I should have. There we go. I'm just wrecking this package, but there we go. Come on, come on. Anyway, we used to carry gilding flakes years ago, but they came in a much larger jar, and you would buy the glue and the little spongy thing separate. So this is all together, which I think is fantastic. It also comes in silver and gold. So we're going to try to remove the cap, right? Here. Okay, so what we're going to do is just add little elements of this, and I'm just going to take, I probably should have had a paintbrush with me, but I don't, so I'm just going to use my fingertips, and we're just putting a thin layer of this glue, and I'm going to add some kind of in her hair too. I feel like you need some little shimmering bits in her hair. Okay. And I'm going to put a little bit on this tag. Now I just have to remember where I put it all. Okay. This stuff is so great. And it's nice if you just let it dry for just like a minute, because you want it to be tacky more than wet. All right, now this seems like a really tiny little jar, but I can tell you it lasts for such a long time. See, so you're just taking it, and you're just this little pinch of it. See, the pinch of it just seems to grow actually because it's so compressed. And we're just going to add, we're just finding those little sticky spots that I had. Just like that. All right. It will get on your fingers. Now we're going to take this little sponge, and you're just going to go like this. It's kind of got a little bit of tooth to it for the sponge. Okay. And it just takes off any excess, spreads it around. It's just a little miracle. There you go. So you just added a little extra something to that, just to give it a little extra wowie. All right, so thanks for joining me today. We've got a great money saver today using many of these elements. I would definitely check that out. And if you're watching us on our Webisode page, then the money saver is directly to your right. You just click on that photo. And if you're watching us on YouTube, the money saver link is directly below the video in the description. And you just look there for the money saver link. And then also there's a link to paperwishes.com where you can see more videos and find all these wonderful products. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you next time.